till the end of time. Long as stars are in the blue, long as there's a string of birds to sing, I'll go on loving you till the end of time.
Growing up in Antigua, I was living by the beach, so I was in the water every morning before I go to school. It was always, and my grandmother always told me off because she said you're going to have salt in your hair going in the water every morning. You know, as well as having a shower, you got to wash your hair properly. But it was lovely. It was nice. I kept asking my mum, have you got trees? Have you got a beach? Have you got hotels? Have you got beaches like ours? And she said, no, not, you know, they're not as good as ours, but they are nice.
I was always in trouble in school. That was the other thing, probably that. I had the cane. The last 2 years of every single day, before school started, I used to have to wait outside the head teacher's door. I used to say, sir, I haven't done anything. And he'd say, you will. And so I had a cane on each hand before school started, every single day.
And I used to go outside the house and then I used to be called all the words, all these names that like, I don't even think they're in the dictionary, some of the names they used to call me. And so I used to be mad and, you know, and it just made me angry and I just wouldn't take rubbish. So I used to think to myself, if you want to think you can be cheeky to me, you better be able to fight me because I'm going to beat you. I used to think like that. So when I was younger, I used to have a lot of problems in school. I used to have a lot of trouble, you know. And, you know, thank God I've had problems. Like my dad would come and speak to the headmasters and stuff because I used to, you know, I mean, it's terrible. I used to get caned every day. I don't think a day ever went by from when couldn't remember going to school until I was about 14 without me getting the cane. I got caned every single day.
Things that we did in class as activities between learning, it was fun because we didn't spend 6 hours just doing maths, English, or whatever like that. We'd have activities between, like sing along, you know, art and craft was fun. It was just so many things just bring us together. We didn't have time to have animosity amongst classmates and stuff like that. We used to call one we called buggy, where we used to use like the polish pun, like the black shoe polish tins, and we make our own wheels. Or we'll get tins, like it could be like the baked bean tins, and depends on how big you want your wheel. We'll cut them in half, fold the ends in, and push them in together. And then you get your wheel, then we'll use that to create our wheels. Or if we have the right tool, we'll cut it out of a flat wood to make a board wheels. We'll go to the woods and we'll look for a straight piece. For the center, we have an axis attached to them. You know, there were some good days. It was brilliant remembering those days, doing those little things for ourselves.
Oh yeah, jacks is one of them. Yeah, where you have these marbles and you would throw the marble up in the air and you'd have these little figures, almost like a dice, and you would throw it like you would a dice, and then you would do that kind of game. And hotchkop, where you would do the marking on the floor and you would do the hopscotch. Yes, yeah. And gigs, they used to call it gig, which was made out of wood with a kind of a nail, and you would spin it and let it go. It's called gigs, yes, yeah. Some kind of top, yeah, you would pull it and let it go. And catapult was another one. A catapult was made by hands, and you'd have a stone in it, and it'd have a piece of like elastic. So you'd have two sticks, and you'd have this piece of elastic, and you'd put almost like a slingshot, I suppose, and you would put the stone in, and you would let it go. Yes, so those kind of games. They were always almost handmade.
Foreign people would work for money in England and send a lot of it abroad to their families to help support them. So they heard a rumour that I wasn't eating properly and that my granny was using the money and all this stuff. So they were a bit worried. So that's when they sent for me to come to England.
So they went to England before you?
Before me.
How old were you when they came over? Do you remember?
I came over when I was 3. My father came over just after I was born, and then my mother followed maybe a year later.
Okay, and you stayed with your grandmother?
And I stayed with my grandmother, who was not happy for me to leave at all.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it was a very dramatic beginning because she didn't want me to leave. I was only 3, and I remember it myself. She said to me, a man's coming to take you away. And so you go under the bunk bed, and the bottom bunk was very low, and don't come out until he's gone. So I went under the bunk bed and could hear these raised voices. And so I stayed under there as long as I could, and then I just couldn't breathe anymore. So I thought I've got to get out for fresh air. So I put my little hand out, and then at that point the man who was from the British Embassy looked and he said, "There she is," and grabbed hold of me and pulled me out. And that was the beginning of the journey to Britain.
Oh my God. So that was traumatic for you?
That was quite dramatic, yeah, traumatic, because I haven't forgotten it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the front room, we had all brand new fitted carpets, 3-piece suite. You know, it was for when the minister comes, you go in there, and the teachers, anyone like that. But the children weren't allowed. They'd keep a lock. Special occasion there. It was the best room then, if the best, you know, it was lovely. You had your gramophone, everything was all nice, but the children wasn't allowed in that room. You take them in there, you know, you give them a cup of tea with on the tray with biscuits or whatever, you know. You treat them nice.
Now, if you're renting a place from somebody that own the house, and say the house have like about 3 bedrooms, but that house, and there's 3 different families living in that house, you have a trouble for cooking because you got one stove and everybody got to take their turn. So when you come out to work, when you cook, you have to cook to keep some for next day. Because next day when you come to cook, everybody is in the kitchen, turning wrong everything.
I just love Cardiff. My Cardiff. Since I came here, I've loved Cardiff. I never wanted to live anywhere else.
Do you feel Welsh?
Oh, yes. All the time. This little Cardiff has done so much for me. I just thank God because I've enjoyed my life in Wales. It doesn't matter how, you know, you find a lot of ups and downs. You come to ups and downs. There's ups and downs in everybody's life. But Wales, I love my Cardiff. Love my Cardiff. And I didn't want to go living anywhere else.
A lot of the families who came from the Caribbean got caught up in the redevelopment, which started about 1956. The whole of Tiger Bay was demolished under the 1948 Slum Clearance Act. And that, well, it's never stopped. They've been redeveloping ever since. But they started knocking street by street. So a lot of those families were rehoused and they ended up going into the new estates of Llanrumney. And Ely wasn't a particularly new estate there, but Ely was growing. And they had terrible times there, from what I understand, you know, lots of racism and stuff. So, yeah, the kids in particular didn't have an easy time. Whereas here, we all stuck together. So we moved in a pack type of thing. You know. We protected each other. And it wasn't to do with the colour of your skin. It was, you were from here. If you were from Tiger Bay, you know, I mean, you're a Bay boy or you're a Bay girl, and you stuck together, you know, fought your way out of trouble if need be. In Butetown, you had your front room, you know, the Welsh parlour. just for special occasions only, you know. Not in our house because every space was used up. We didn't have any special front room, you know. So, but you had your front room and you had your certain things in it. So what changed? One of the items for these new arrivals was a gramophone. There was always music, you know. So, you know, the gramophone, and then that got on, and everybody had to, you know, have these gramophones, which, as I was constantly reminded, was a piece of furniture as well. Yeah. A nice piece of furniture too.
The people was friendly. You could leave your house open, go to town, go wherever you want. Your neighbor will look after your house. Nobody will trouble you at all. See? And I said, well, that's better than where I come from. And I stay there. I stayed there and I stayed in Cardiff up to today. The best I think in the whole country. I spend more time here than anywhere else. I'm still British. I feel like British. I mean, I don't bother. On my passport, when I get my passport, it says on the passport, you British, is a great British citizen, Wales, that's with Cardiff, Ireland, and Scotland, in my passport.
I remember in school, we used to have every year, it wasn't much TV about it. It was, most schools would have radio and stuff like that. And every year they'd have a song competition, a national song competition. And all schools would, say 3 o'clock, they'd all, the whole schools around Britain would vote for this song. And Jamaica Farewell, it won it. And like, for the first time in life, oh, that's me. And that was the first kind of try. And also things like Bob Marley, he kind of made me realize, but that's me. And Muhammad Ali, they were like, because you didn't get much of black people being proud, and so when you kind of those kind of things, they kind of made you feel special. When I heard Bob Marley singing, and that was kind of that's me. Most of the black kids then wanted to be boxers or musicians, however.
I'm curious about the identity thing. So you came over as British.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then when you kind of came into Viewtown, which has its own very kind of strong identity,
Mm-hmm.
You were made to feel an outsider, and you were definitely West Indian, right?
Oh yes, I will never give up that.
How do you feel now? Do you feel...
No way, I feel no way whatsoever.
You're West Indian?
Yes, and I will never change that.
Did you ever really feel British?
No, because people tell me, after all these years, I haven't changed my accent. Because people, I go places and they say, where you from? I say, St. Kitts. They say, I know. Just like that you hear. I ain't giving it up for nobody. Nearly everybody had connection from the Bay. Let's say a lot of people, as far as I hear, was living in South Church Street. Some live in Hodges Square, some live in Angelina Street, Christina Street, Sophia Street, and so on. Yeah, they live all in different areas in the docks.
You see the sign, no Irish, no blacks, and no dogs. But I didn't have that problem because I rent a bed. There was 4 beds in the room, and I pay a pound for my bed.
Well, when we came here, we were British. We were British, you have a British passport. But then things turned wrong. As we came here as British citizens. And then you're not British citizen after a while. We come to what we call it the motherland. You got to say you're British now. You're born West Indian. You was born in the West Indies because you know your place. You're born in the West Indies, but you came over to the land, to another island. You change. You're like somebody else. You got different identity. But you can never forget your identity. You got to remember where you're from, and I think most people still have that in them. and but living over here, then they're here and they still live here. So you consider yourself British. I think it's very important for the younger generation to know what happened during that time. And why it happened, we don't know. So it is important for them to know about it.
I'll never forget the patient who said to me, and she was crippled in a bed, you're not going to put your black hands on me. And Peter's never forgotten. We're not going to work with you. We don't want a black man here working. I think for me, racism and discrimination made me into the person I am, shaped me. I found things to do to cushion the way I was treated. You know, if I didn't do things like that, I think I'd be dwelling on, promotion, as you'd hear lots of people tell you, these big organizations, they didn't think you should be promoted. You should be either clean or staying down where you are. And you still had people in the latter years working with stinky workers. I didn't wear uniform, I used to wear civvy and think you were the cleaner that passed me by and go in the office to the... I think doing things and getting things, apart from working, apart from doing these other things, had other, stuff doing. So it cushioned a lot of the blows, I think, facing the discrimination, racism.
I remember they had, because black people was getting so much problems, they find a Black Alliance. And they had that in the youth center used to be just across the road there by the paddle, in the grounds of the high-rise flats there. And they had a meeting in there. They called the councillor, and the councillor tell them, or tell this one fella, to go back from where he come.
The councillor said that?
Yeah. Well, I don't know, I'm not sure if she was the councillor at that time, but she became the councillor.
So do you feel, even though you had lived here for such a long time, since you were 20, that you were still always an outsider?
Yes.
I stayed home until the children was old enough to go to school. Then I started working. As I didn't have any experience, my neighbor told me Crumpton Batteries was short of staff in the canteen. Would I like to work? So I said, yes. So he said, it is hard, man, canteen. I said, okay, I'll give it a go. Somebody was on the sick. I went as a relief. And an old lady was there, was very friendly. She showed me the rope. And I stayed then, and then the lady come back on the sick. So I had to leave. And then I seen the people liked me. A Caribbean lady who worked there come and knock on my door and said, they would like you to come back. I said, oh, okay. I went back and I never stopped. I kept the job until my first granddaughter was born. My daughter said, could you babysit? I said, okay. So I left the morning job, but I got a job in the hospital in the evening. And I stayed there until I retired at the age of 65.
So I worked part-time in, often it was a TB hospital then, but I think they changed it in Kefren Mabley, just as a observer, sort of going into nursing and looking at that. And then after I worked for a couple of months before I went into nursing. Anyhow, the nursing thing was, they wanted me to sit exam again. So when I applied, and I told her, I'd done this, and, I don't know if you could do the exam, because what happened, a lot of nurses were coming, they were recruiting them from home, I think a lot from Barbados as well, Barbados, Trinidad, recruiting them from home, and they were coming straight to the different hospitals, be it Yorkshire, Newport, wherever. But I didn't come on that scheme, then I decided to do my thing, and she said, I don't know if you'll sit yet, I don't know if you'll pass the exam. So I thought, there again, because they recruit, you've got to be sent by your own government or something. But I say, I've come here, I'm invited that we come here. I didn't have to be sent by my government. So I sat the exam, and then I got into nursing. She said, I thought I should be allowed to see today, that tutor. So there's my nursing career started.
When you go to Jamaica, obviously the West Indies, and you come back to this country, and you eat the food tastes like cardboard. Obviously, like I remember when I was a child, there used to be a man, his name was Green, Mr. Green we used to call him. But anyway, he used to come and visit, not just us, but the West Indian people. And he used to sell the proper West Indian food, the yam, green bananas, the ackee, the saltfish. People didn't know what that was in them days. People do now. So I used to like, we had the hard dough bread. I used to like the bullock cake. Oh, I used to love the bullock cake. And my dad used to like sugar cane. You could buy these sugar cane drinks, things like that. And remember that, this cocoa chocolate, and it was like solid. It was together, and then you grate it and you make the chocolate drink. Obviously, Jamaica, I mean, the food is beautiful.
We in Tiger Bay ate a variety of food. My theory, right, is that these recipes, the men said, I want rice and peas, but they were married to Welsh women. Mm-hmm. They didn't know what it was, so they guessed, So what the dish that we ate as rice and peas was quite different. And the meat with the rice and peas was always curried, because the Arabs ate curry, And I thought, I remember going to a friend's house and she had stewed chicken. And I thought, so I went to him, I said, do you know that chicken was nice and it wasn't curried? He said, well, how could you, how do you cook it? But my grandmother used to stew the chicken, when you make a soup, you put the chicken in and you boil everything. That's how we had the chicken, to go with the rice and peas, not browned and stuff. And we gradually learned, well, this is the proper way, because before they didn't have anybody to show them the proper way. So it was a shift in culture,
Yeah, I came to my dad, and it was a cafe where, of course, they did cook rice and peas, and it wasn't the same rice and peas and chicken. He owned a cafe in Bute Street.
What was it called? Do you remember?
Nations Cafe.
Nations Cafe in Bute Street.
Yeah, so and they used to come and play dominoes there, and there was a lot of Irish people coming there because he'd do Irish stew, which they liked. And what I liked about that, my dad was very hospitable, even though they didn't have any money, some of them, to buy their meal, and he would give them a meal, which I thought was very nice. It was that kind community spirit to help those who didn't have. My first meal was steak and kidney pie, and I thought, oh, this is quite nice.
Yeah.
But of course, not knowing that it would be a big change of food, because of course I'm out of my country where I'm used to chicken and rice and peas and ackee and saltfish. I'm not saying that you can't do that here, but it doesn't taste the same. Yeah. So it was a culture shock for me.
Till the end of time, long as stars are in the blue, long as years bring a bird to sing, I'll go on loving you till the end